Hey guys, welcome back to the Tukes and Tires YouTube channel. As always, I'm Zach, and this week we get this Gen 3 Hemi and transmission bolted up for good in my sister's 73 AMC Gremlin. She's not going nowhere, and we build a custom set of headers.
Hey, is that Timmy's?
Yeah, he's very Canada. Well guys, you already heard what we're trying to accomplish in today's video, and you guys know better than I do because I'm past Zach, so I have no idea what we're trying to accomplish today. But I have a pretty good game plan, so hopefully in today's video we're actually going to make up some motor mounts, hopefully a tranny crossmember mount thing that's, you know, can fit exhaust, and then hopefully some headers. If we don't get the headers, that's totally fine because I know those are going to be a bit of a task. But if you would have watched the last video, and there's a whole playlist on this car, so go definitely check that out. This is my sister's 73 AMC Gremlin X that we're putting a Gen 3 Hemi into it. So as of right now, it's looking pretty wicked. And in the last video, we actually got the old motor ripped out of this thing, and we got the new Gen 3 Hemi just kind of temporarily mocked up. So you can see here, it's looking absolutely wicked. Dad, my old man, has actually spent a bunch of time leveling this thing out, so we're sitting pretty good this way with the motor. I still think that we're going to have to mess around a little bit with the pinion angle, but we want to get some motor mounts made into this thing so that the motor's not going to shift around on us. Because as of right now, the car is still pretty nose high. We haven't been able to jump on this bumper yet to actually kind of sag out the suspension because we didn't want to shift the motor too much, because the front end we actually only have held up with a 2x4 and a chain going to the crank, just because that was the easiest way to do it, and we have the old tranny cross member in there actually holding up the back. But as of right now, the motor can't really move too much more just because of, you know, we have it pretty wedged in there. We got about 3/8 of an inch on this side to the shock tower, to the valve cover, and then we actually have the motor over to one side. It's actually not a whole lot. I would probably say maybe it's about 1/2 inch, just to clear the steering shaft that actually comes through. And on this thing, because we're using the A518, the starter is also on the driver's side. So we're going to have a little bit of a hard time with the header on this side. We have a bunch of more room on the passenger side, but we're going to show you that a little bit better once we actually get this thing in the air, because we actually have the car on the hoist. We're going to probably do most of this work from underneath, but in the last video, if you did watch that, you would have seen the motor mount adapter plates that we made up. So kind of similar to what you can buy for an LS engine, but basically they go from Gen 3 Hemi to small block Chevy. I just figured the small block Chevy mount was probably the easiest to go with on this car. You know, easy available, and if we ever want to switch this out to a solid mount, I can just buy solid mounts and then it's going to work perfectly. So Dad was kind enough to make up these little, I don't know what you want to call them, cylinder bushing things for our mount so that we can actually work off of it. And we're going to get these things hopefully bolted up to the plates we made, but we're going to get it in the air to show you guys what we're working with. She's tight, that is for sure, but it's going to be absolutely wicked once this thing's actually solidified, sitting in there for good. So we're going to get this car in the air and show you guys what we're working with, and then come up with a pretty good game plan. So here we go. All right, so we got the car in the air now, and I got some lights under here. They're, you know, it's not the best lighting, but hopefully you guys can see what's kind of going on. So it's pretty tight under here. We got enough clearance underneath the steering shaft, like I can fit my fingers underneath here. So hopefully all that's going to be good. Should rotate nicely under the motor. So we got to make sure that it stays in this spot. But you can see I got these motor mounts bolted to the plates we made. So you can see that it was just a square plate that bolted into the factory location on the Gen 3 Hemi. But this is the original motor mount spot for the Gremlin. It has it on both sides. This one's taller than this one, so they're kind of different. What we're going to do is we're actually going to make plates that go onto here and then kind of just cantilever off just a little bit, just so that the pipe I have is actually going to go just a little bit on an angle here up to this, and then we can actually weld it hopefully into there. So I'm hopefully going to make up all the pieces. We can get it tacked up in here. So I think the game plan is that we're actually going to just start cutting stuff and just you know, hopefully we can get this thing to a point that it's going to sit on its own weight and we can actually get this 2x4 out of here. So I'm going to start cutting things up, kind of just get you guys rolling on a time lapse, and then hopefully once we come back that these things are looking pretty sweet. So here we go. Alrighty guys, so we got both of those motor mounts made up. You saw from the beauty shots that, you know, the process along the way. My GoPro messed up, you know, once again, and I actually lost the footage of me actually welding them. So, you know, that's a thing. So just imagine me actually welding these things up. They are on a wicked angle, but they clear and they bolt to the original motor mount spot. So that's pretty wicked, but we're going to move on to the cross member back here now. So I think I have a pretty good game plan set up. If I could set the light up here so you guys can see something. We'll get that eventually. But I can't reuse this factory cross member just because it doesn't work out for where the a bolting spot for the mount is on this transmission. So I think we're just going to make everything from scratch. I'm going to make it dip up just like this as well. For the exhaust to actually travel through, we're hoping to do duals on this thing with an X pipe. So hopefully we can make all that work. So I think what I'm just going to start with, I'm just going to start cutting a whole bunch of stuff up and get it in here. I think our pinion angle's pretty good, but we're going to check that. But basically, let's just hammer out this cross member so we can actually move on to making up some custom headers. Alrighty guys, well it was a bit of a process to actually get this crossmember all made up, but it's looking super slick. We got it painted up black. My handprints are all over it because, you know, I can never wait for anything to dry to actually bolt it in, but it's in there. We got a couple features on this that are pretty slick. So I actually welded a tube into here. I didn't show that, but when I actually made the crossmember up and I saw where the speedometer cable actually hooks up to it, it was actually like right in line with this. So I just added just a little bit of pipe in here just so that the cable would kind of round nicely in there. And then you can see that we got two spots here for our exhaust to run through. This one is really nice because it's nice and wide. This one is kind of more narrow, but I tried to match up the upper tubes just so that they lined up, just because I thought that looked proper. We actually have enough room in here for the 2.5-inch pipe that I want to use, so that should be pretty slick. And then I actually modified this bracket here that was on this A518. Originally it had some kind of ears that came down and some kind of weird center mount thing. But me being a Chevy guy, I'm like, well, let's just put a GM trans mount into it. So that's what I did, modified it so that it could fit this. And then if we ever have to change the pinion angle, because I have the motor and tranny set pretty good right now, we can always shim this down here just because I reused the original bolting spot in this where the old crossmember was in there, so we could always, you know, drop the transmission, or if we ever had to shim it up, we actually just put shims underneath this tranny mount. So that's pretty slick. But what I think what we're gonna do now, since we got the motor and tranny all situated, we're actually gonna move on to building those headers. So it's gonna be a bit of a task doing those things. I got some stuff set up on a table outside, so we're gonna get you guys set up over there so I can show you how we're building these headers for this Hemi Grammy. Well guys, since we have the motor and tranny situated for good in the car, I think it's time to do the fun part and actually make up these custom headers. So I did a bunch of research actually trying to see if I could buy any kind of headers for the Gen 3 Hemi that might fit the car. But trust me when I say it, nobody's building custom headers for a Hemi Grammy. It's just not happening. So we kind of got to go the custom route. But I wanted to start off with something that, you know, was going to give me all the bends, and I didn't have to spend a bunch of money on J-pipes and, you know, just spending crazy amount of money building a custom set of headers. So with me being a big LS guy, I just got a bunch of stuff kind of laying around. So I actually had this set of headers, you know, just from another project that I didn't use, and I was like, one night I was kind of like, hey, I got exhaust manifold gaskets for a Hemi. I might as well see how close the intake runners are that maybe we might get away with actually just, you know, literally turning LS headers into Hemi ones. And I'm going to put a video up on the screen right now of how close our flange is to the LS header, and is absolutely incredible. You know, we're talking maybe like a 16th here and a 16th there on how close we're getting away with it. So these, you know, headers, you can buy these on Amazon probably for like $100 US. Obviously us being in maple syrup land, they're a little bit more than that, but you can't get any cheaper than these headers. Hopefully they're gonna weld okay. I have no idea how that's gonna go, but I got these flanges for the Hemi actually custom cut. Me and my buddy Kenny made up the file for these and got them cut by Cutmypart.ca. I will leave a link down in the description. They actually do sell these, so you can get those from them. And they are probably the most affordable flange that you can buy for a Gen 3 Hemi. And they just, you know, I got them cut out of stainless. You get them to cut them out of mild steel, save a few bucks. But since we got stainless headers, I was like, hey, might as well just spend the extra money and have a complete set of stainless headers for the Hemi Grammy. So my plan with you guys is we're going to try to make up the passenger side header, just because I think it's going to be a heck of a lot easier. I think literally what we're going to do is we're going to lop this flange off and literally just try to put that flange onto it. You know, wishful thinking that it's going to go that easy, but it's probably not. We are going to end up putting a V-band onto this just because, get rid of a gasket and just make it look a heck of a lot nicer. But that will be in a later video when we actually do the whole exhaust system. So I think all we can do is just try. There's going to be a little bit of a, you know, trickier situation with the driver's side header just because we have the starter on that side. So I bought a few extra bends to actually make this right where, because instead of this dumping on an angle, I need it to dump kind of straight down right where it is. So that's going to be a little bit of a trick. So that's why let's make up this passenger side header. I have that spare block that we made the oil pan on. So my plan is to hopefully bolt that to the motor, tack this in place in the car, take it out, and just, you know, fully weld it out onto my other motor I have here. It's not going to go that easy. But anyways, guys, let's get you set up. Let's start cutting some stuff and let's make up some headers. Well guys, there we have it. You saw all the beauty shots and a whole time lapse of us making up this header. I know it's only one of them. This took me a lot longer than I thought it was gonna. You know, this thing I'd say turned out pretty beautiful for my first fully custom header. You know, we did the ones on the C1 Chevelle. That was just kind of modifying some big block headers. But you know, I'm probably just gonna tackle the driver's side on my own. But you can see, I'm gonna get just a shot of it up in the car, and we're gonna put it over the screen right now so you can see how well this actually fits in there. It is super tight and it is absolutely wicked. You can see we welded on that 2.5 inch Lyell's V-band clamp on there, so we're not gonna have any leaks on this thing with a paper gasket down here. We're gonna be doing all V-band clamps on the whole exhaust when we get to that point, so we're gonna have a video hopefully coming up here soon of that, building the rest of the exhaust system. But I'd say for this video, it's a pretty big win to actually just get the motor and tranny bolted down for good. You know, there's still a lot more work making up lines, fitting wiring and stuff like that, but hopefully here in the future we're gonna get to a bunch of that stuff. Like I said, this header took me quite some time to get down right, and I also actually had some health issues that I was dealing with, so that's kind of why the video took a little bit longer to come out as well. You know, life sucks when stuff happens to you, but you know, we're getting through it. But yeah, I think it's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much if you made it this point. Sorry that videos are taking longer to come out. Just there's a lot going on in life, but we're trying to get to it all. But definitely stick around until next time. We got a fun one planned, hopefully for the next video. And yeah, we're just gonna get after it. So as always, guys, we'll catch you next time, and don't forget to salute the beaver.